Okay, so before we begin, I'm just gonna quickly extend a huge thank you towards the Names Junkie, since he featured my channel on his top 5 underrated ranters and commentary channels list, and my channel has been getting quite a lot more viewers and subscribers ever since. I cannot begin to thank you enough for the shout out, and I hope I do not disappoint any of you who have come to the channel. Now for the video we're about to cover. Similarly to how Doodletones threw Sketch TV down the stairs for some commentary material, I'm kinda doing the same thing to Keyblade Master. Sorry, buddy. So today we're covering a YouTuber named Marcus Yamamoto, and we're looking at a video from his series called Spidey Response. This particular episode was covering another YouTuber named Nintendo, who made a video on the most recent Spider-Man animated series and why he doesn't like it. This is gonna be a rough one, I'm not gonna lie. My first time watching this was not really a fun experience. Pair everything you're about to see with his replies in the comments section of his video, and my first impression of him was not really that high. But hopefully this video will help him in the long run, so we're just gonna dive right on in.
Okay, I need to-
Ow, my dick!
Sorry.
Anyways, without further ado, let's take on the carnivorous carnage!
I'm kind of a casual Spider-Man fan. I haven't read any of the comics.
Just remember this for later. You're probably gonna need it.
Yeah, I also want you guys to remember this, because the payoff won't exactly be as phenomenal as Spidey here believes it will be.
But I know all the basics about the characters and storyline.
There's more to that than meets the eye, okay?
I'm also a fan of most of the movies. Homecoming had a basic story but was very fun to watch, and the original Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies are all good, despite being covered in a very thick layer of cheesiness.
You're cheesy.
I think by now you've probably started to see what the problems with this video are. Marcus, I know what you're going for. I get the fact that you want to throw in some jokes and make a response all at once. But here's the thing. That first interjection of the clip that I just played, I had no idea what to think of it. If it was an attempt at humor, then I just didn't get the joke at all. But if it was a serious point, then you really need to elaborate further. Part of making response videos is that you're adding some new insight and possibly sparking a discussion on a video that is flawed. That way you can add new information, new thoughts, and get the audience thinking. This was such a brief interjection and I didn't take anything away from it. As for the second interjection, again, I get that it's a joke, but simply saying,
"You're cheesy,"
just isn't funny. It's just filler at this point. It doesn't serve a purpose. You're just butting into the video to say nothing that's really of substance, and it can be quite boring.
Even though I'm a fan of the character and I'm a big fan of cartoons, if you couldn't already tell, I haven't really seen any of the Spider-Man cartoons outside of a few episodes of the 90s animated series ages ago. But apparently Disney had my back, because they've just launched a new Spider-Man animated series, only 7 months after the previous one ended, simply titled Spider-Man, or Marvel Spider-Man if you don't feel like calling it Spider-Man 2017. I'm really starting to hate this common trend of reboots that share the same names as the originals, since now you have to differentiate each property using the year that it came out in. Come to think of it, that's actually the only problem I have with the DuckTales reboot so far.
They're doing that because they want to go back to their old roots. Don't you get it? God, you're so stupid.
What? Nintendo most likely got it. He's saying that he doesn't like the fact that the title is just simply Spider-Man because the only way to differentiate separate cartoon series with the same exact names as one another is to reference the year that it came out, especially now since there are 3 other Spider-Man animated series with that exact same title. While I can grant you that you are correct as to why they decided to go with such a simple name, your interjection here is just clunky in its approach. Nintendo was criticizing the fact that the name is identical to the other 3 shows, possibly implying that they could have come up with a much more original name for the series, especially since that's a fairly easy goal to accomplish. He's not stupid for not knowing the reason why the show's name is the way it is, and even if he did, the criticism likely wouldn't change, nor would he still be stupid for having his reservations. He's just giving his personal thoughts on why he doesn't like the title.
At first I wondered why the creators decided to give their show such a boring and uncreative name, but after watching the show, that name has begun to make a lot of sense. The first question that I have with any new take on a beloved property is, what's the twist? In other words, what does this incarnation of Spider-Man do differently compared to the others? The answer is hardly much at all.
You're a fucking idiot.
Once again, another place where you could have actually explained why you feel this way, though unfortunately you decided to stop here just to insult him. I doubt anyone takes any pleasure in watching a response video where you have almost nothing of substance to say, especially when you're interjecting this frequently.
We have the typical Spidey origin story, where Peter Parker is an average kid that no one understands until he gets bitten by a radioactive spider and his life gets flipped upside down. Check it out, I flipped the image on screen upside down to correspond with when I said upside down. I'm like the best editor in the world.
First off, that is Spider-Man's exact origin, okay? That's the exact same origin that we've heard over 1,000 times. And for me, I never get tired of hearing that. No matter how you change it up, I'll always love it. Do you even know what happened the last time Spider-Man tried to do something different? Crap. Crap reviews. Everything was just went out the garbage can. It just went into the garbage can. That's what happened. It was bad, okay?
Oh boy, okay. First of all, yeah, we know that it's the exact same origin story, which is what Nintendo is criticizing. The fact that he's seeing it again after multiple series and 2 movies that didn't deviate too much from one another. Now, whether or not they're exactly the same, I don't know, but I can see where he's coming from. Most people are aware of the Spider-Man origin story and are likely sick of constantly seeing it. This is a common complaint within Spider-Man media, especially when discussing the movies. It's the fact that people are so familiar with it that we don't exactly need to keep seeing it rebooted. That's what he's trying to say. Secondly, who cares? It's fine that you like it really is. But what he's saying is that this is the exact same origin story and nothing added to it. There's no deviation, and to him and many other people, it's going to become stale. And as for that last point, I really wish you specified what last time was, since I have no idea what you're referring to. Homecoming? Ultimate Spider-Man? The Amazing Spider-Man films? I can't argue this because I have no fucking clue what you're trying to talk about. This is why people elaborate in their videos, so that the audience isn't confused.
Okay, I need to- Ow, my dick! Sorry.
The origin is almost exactly like how it was in the 2002 movie.
Are you fucking kidding me? It's not! Oh my god, how stupid are you? Okay, the only thing that they took inspiration from the Raimi movie was the genetically enhanced spider, the homemade costume, and the fight with Bonesaw McGee. That's it! The only cartoon that took inspiration from Sam Raimi fully was Spectacular Spider-Man, okay? Oh my god, are you mentally retarded?
I haven't read any of the comics.
Oh yeah, that's right. You are stupid.
Well, that was apparently the payoff for this.
Just remember this for later. You're probably gonna need it.
The fact that Marcus thinks that Nintendo's point about the origin story in the movie and the origin story in the animated series being far too similar is bullshit, while calling him retarded for not reading the comics, despite the fact that this is a comparison between the first Spider-Man movie and this show, not the comics. Nintendo said the origin story is almost exactly like the movie, because, well, guess what? The genetically enhanced spider, homemade costume, and wrestling fight are very similar story beats, which can make the experience of watching this new show a bit more tedious and stale, especially if the origin story feels too similar to something that was already explored before. The 3 of us know that this isn't exactly similar, but the fact that they are very similar can be boring to viewers.
Okay, I need to- Ow, my dick! Sorry.
He doesn't always win every battle, and his superhero life is slowly taking over his teenage life, but he doesn't have to deal with any moral dilemmas or have his powers hurt his life in a significant way. The show focuses more on Peter's day-to-day adventures at school, and fighting the occasional bad guy. This is what draws most viewers into the Spider-Man series, but cutting out most of Peter's serious struggles gets rid of a lot of the character's depth.
Yeah, everything has to be goody and serious and super edgy. That's how I like our superheroes.
Ah, fuck you. Go die in a hole or something.
Dude, you have got to find a better way to structure these interjections. Hell, I have my own arguments that I can make against Nintendo's points, but I'll just save those for later. Regardless, that was just childish. Not just because of the weird taunting at the beginning, but with the comment that you made at the end, you just did not present yourself well at all. It's uncomfortable to just watch someone behave like this unironically.
They also answer questions that fans have pondered for ages, like what happened to Bernie Sanders after he lost the election in the Marvel Universe. Apparently, he became Harry Osborn's chauffeur.
Maybe a new school, Bernie, but it's the same old routine.
What? I have nothing to say.
Well, if that's the case, then just don't interject at all.
Okay, I need to- Ow, my dick! Sorry.
Peter's almost always saying something nerdy or science-related because the writers really want you to know that he's a nerd who loves science. This in turn downgrades his origin story, since he uses the steps of the scientific method to understand his powers. This causes the shorts that form the series' origin episode to be formulaic and have very little stakes.
Yeah, I can tell. You pretty much fail your science class. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, you should probably be kicked out of school by now.
Okay, what does that have to do with what he just said? He was saying that the writers were practically beating us over the head with the fact that Peter is a science whiz. If this was a joke, well, again, you need to work on your delivery and structuring these jokes better. But if it was serious, then you need to pay more attention to what he was saying.
Which, once again, is disappointing considering how interesting the origin of this character has been before. Also, whenever Peter's Spider-Man, he never shuts up.
So what? You don't shut up!
I know that Spider-Man is known for his one-liners during fights, but 95% of what he says isn't even funny. What?
That's because your sense of humor is on the level of Batman.
That has absolutely nothing to do with anything he just said. If you find it funny, then good for you, but deriding someone for not finding the show's humor funny is not the way to go.
But even though the title character doesn't make much of an impression on me, maybe some of the supporting characters can. Just about every single one of these characters can be summed up in 2 words, like Harry is the best friend, Gwen Stacy is the snarky girl, Aunt May is the caring elder, Norman Osborn is the evil dad, Spencer Smythe is also the evil dad, but they really mix things up with Raymond Warren, who's an evil uncle. Didn't see that one coming, did ya? Most of these characters are only really here because they're recognizable Spider-Man characters, and almost all of them don't have any unique character traits or even unique designs.
Says the person that doesn't read the comics.
I haven't read any of the comics.
It doesn't matter what the comics have to do with these characters being portrayed the way they are. Are you aware that this is a common complaint within other Spider-Man properties? The fact that the characters don't really have any depth beyond being recognizable characters from the comics? You wanted us to keep that earlier point in mind simply because you want to get on his case for not reading the comics in the first place. Though the way a character is portrayed in the Spider-Man show or movie can suck regardless of how accurate it is to the comics. Just because they get something right doesn't mean that can't be criticized for another reason, like how uninteresting they make a character or how little depth they can have in the long run.
A lot of the adults in particular don't have any diverse features.
Probably because you're not an artist, you fuckhead.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, take a look at this cake. It looks like shit, doesn't it? Oh wait, I'm not an experienced baker. Does that mean that I can't comment on how shitty this cake looks?
Okay, I need to. Ow, my dick! Sorry.
But I guess the team behind this show just doesn't want to try anything new.
Yeah, because this shit happened.
That's hardly an excuse not to try something new though. Just because one movie sucked doesn't mean you need to play it overly safe and stick too close to home. That's part of the reason why Nintendo finds the show boring to begin with.
This series might not even be able to pay off all the characters it sets up, especially if you consider something about the show that I'll mention later in this review. And I really don't want to have the series end, and Otto Octavius is still a short, wormy teacher instead of one of the coolest villains in the franchise like it really should be. Speaking of villains, most of them are pretty pathetic. They all get a few minutes of screen time each, and their origin stories are either never explained or explained very briefly.
It's about Spider-Man, not supervillains, you fuck.
A lot of Spider-Man's villains have a somewhat relatable backstory, or some kind of connection to Peter, so having most of them show up without any formal introduction not only alienates new viewers, but also makes the characters weaker in general.
It's like the olden days, you know, back in the old days when, you know, you had your villains as the devil himself, and, you know, you just don't need to explain all that because it's super short and all that. It's like those old cartoons, you know? Oh, don't you remember those old cartoons? Oh, man, those were good times, you know?
Oh god, I didn't catch almost any of that, so I'll just butt in and bring up the interjections he made before this. So Nintendo was saying that the most interesting part about the Spider-Man villains is that not only do they have relatable backstories, but some of them do have a connection to Peter. Characters like Dr. Octopus and Green Goblin can often be used as symbolism, showing what Peter could have become if he had taken the wrong path after the murder of his uncle, often relating to how some of Spider-Man's villains take the route of rejecting responsibility or refusing to accept their own faults, which clouds their judgment and turns them into the villains that they are now. I can only assume that you were making fun of him for wanting this to just be like an older iteration of Spider-Man cartoons or the movies, but he was saying that these villains aren't quite as deep as the other versions of these characters from before.
A lot of the villains have lame abilities too. The Vulture has the ability to create really loud and annoying screams and has this huge orange headpiece covering his whole face. How was he even supposed to see through it?
It's a one-view mirror, you idiot! It's the same type of mirror that I use for my lenses. Oh my god, are you actually retarded? You know what? It's confirmed. You actually are retarded. I am so surprised at how retarded you are.
Was any of this really necessary? Sure, he probably didn't realize it was some kind of visor that could let him see, but calling him retarded 3 times in a row just for missing a detail that could honestly be missed is not only overboard, but it's just really uncomfortable to watch. Now I'm about to skip a lot of Nintendo's video and a portion of Marcus's video simply because, well, I wanted to get to this part.
Let's talk about the animation.
And with that, I think that this will be the end of Spidey Response, because I literally cannot take any more of this.
Of course, another important detail that you could have argued against but decided to just end the video right there. It's really not that hard to argue against this video. He does happen to say this.
I guess it's kind of early to judge a lot of these characters completely, since as I'm making this video, the show only has a couple of episodes to its name, and I can tell that the creators have plans for most of the characters.
The fact that he's discussed how Peter isn't encountering very many deep character struggles, secret identity struggles, or anything that serious, and the fact that he thinks this is an awful cartoon when they've only made 5 episodes at the time of him recording this, it just all rubs me the wrong way. I feel like 5 episodes isn't exactly enough time to get too deep into these serious matters. And on top of that, just judging the show and saying it's the worst of 2017 like he did in the title, off of just 5 episodes, that also just rubs me the wrong way. But the thing is, all of that I just said is more than what you provided us in this entire 14-minute video. So I'm just gonna move on to final thoughts for now. This may be one of the worst videos I've ever covered on this channel so far. While you did make about 2 or 3 decent points in your entire video, those were just 3 of your interjections. The rest were either spouting unfunny jokes, making very brief arguments that didn't argue much, or didn't really argue anything at all, and on top of that, with calling him retarded more times than you really needed to while stopping the video just to insult him for no good reason. This makes for one of the most awkward YouTube videos I have ever had to sit through. As I've said throughout the video, you should probably structure your videos a little better. When making an argument, know where to interject and make your arguments crystal clear. Elaborate further if you need to. If you want to add jokes, I suggest improving the quality of your jokes and your delivery. If you want to throw in some pot shots, definitely be less malicious, since your constant barrage of insults really harmed the way I viewed your video and your YouTube persona. I just really hope you improve from here, because this was just a flop.